afternoon, Camp Davy Crockett.
I'm Zeph.
And I'm Hayden.
Who? John Ford. I'm John Ford.
And welcome to the
Camp Davy Chronicles. We have a very special treat today. Our first ever camp staff, former camp staff. I was trying to come up with a fancier way to say
alumni.
that. Alumnus.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was
yeah.
looking for. Camp staff alumnus here, John Ford.
Yeah. I think John might be our first camp experience because he was I remember him and a couple other people as the first directors that we got to experience as camp staff.
I apologize.
Oh, no, I apologize for how bad I was. And so, yeah, but it was fun because I got to see them interact and how they were people or how they weren't people and get to experience that.
Directors aren't people; they're property of the camp.
Yeah. This man, John Ford, actually taught my first merit badge class at Camp Davy Crockett.
I apologize for that as well.
Do you remember what class that was?
It was mammal study.
Oh
in
man,
2013.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. That's more than 10 years.
Yeah, that was fun. That was when I was barely a camp staff because as soon as I became a director, I just only taught environmental science, and it was great. So when you're listed one that I barely remember teaching.
You did also teach my environmental science. That was a really fun class. Learned a lot about the different ways that animals can get cancer and die.
Yeah, animals and people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exclusive.
A lot of cancer in that class.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume we took a lot of merit badge classes together, and so I can assume that you probably taught my first merit badge class. We're probably at the same place.
Funny.
The
best part is I never got any of the merit badges that I taught.
Really?
I came one merit badge shy of getting my Eagle, and it was environmental science.
What?
And so then, as karma, I was punished to teach it for 6 years.
So you were on camp staff after you didn't get...
I turned 18 before I even joined camp staff.
Oh,
okay. So it's not like you were on staff teaching environmental science and just never got it signed off.
No, that would have been even better.
Okay. That's hilarious.
Dang. Well, honorary Eagle Scout.
Yeah, you can go and do a project. I swear that I think as a council we should start an adult Eagle project, like a Eagle award that you can do after you turn 18. So that way for people like you.
To make you feel better.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But, yeah. Do we want to start the questions?
I guess. I don't know. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about you and who you are?
Oh,
Mr.
man.
Ford?
When I figure that out, I'll tell you. I am turning 30 in a month, which is weird. I graduated law school. Well, I graduated law school in the spring. I passed the bar just now.
Congratulations.
I was the director of environmental science at Camp Davy Crockett for 4 years. I was STEM director for another year. Just married, no kids, living the life.
So when you were on camp staff, that was back when we were at Gray Squirrel.
Yeah.
And so you've not got to experience the new dining hall.
The very last year I had was with the new staff camp that had cabins and air conditioning and.
Okay.
Yeah. When we moved there, on the first day of scout camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And that was our first year.
Yeah.
So just barely overlap in our.
The new dining hall is nice though. I went to a friend's wedding at it and it was really, really nice. And I've taken nieces and nephews to events at Camp Davy Crockett, and it's moving up in the world, man.
I knew I'd seen you somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. That old camp experience. You're the first. Well, I guess not the first person, but you're the first person we're asking that the old dining hall experience. Because you said you'd taken nieces and nephews to other events. You kind of know how the new dining hall works. You kind of know how the old dining hall works. What are your least favorite or favorite moments about the old dining hall?
So, I try not to be one of those cantankerous old... it's not true. I'm very much a cantankerous old curmudgeon. But I try not to be without good reason. So I know there are a lot of people who look at how far camp has come and are like, it's not as tough as we used to have it. And I'm like, you guys can get over yourselves. But I am really grateful that I got to have the experience of the old camp, because there were some things, like some friendships that you make doing hard work, and a lot of that stuff circled around the just failing infrastructure that Camp Davy Crockett had, and we were just making it work. So, like, just that old dining hall is a perfect example of it, because it was just kind of dated. It's a nice way to say it. Yeah. So, like, there were a lot of times where it was the only real structure on camp. So, like, during storms and stuff, everyone has to go into the dining hall. But it's just a small building with open windows and a concrete floor, and it gets crowded and it gets loud and it's not super pleasant. But there's something to that of, it's the only shelter you have that's safe in a really bad storm. So there's something comforting to having it there. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, getting to experience those kind of crappy moments makes, like, those are for the best stories.
Oh, yeah.
And those crappy moments with other people. Like, some of my best friends came from camp, and some of the moments that I had where I realized, hey, those are really good friends, are where we're together suffering.
So do you have any of those moments that you could tell us about? That you were together and suffering?
One that comes to mind. I know Corey Jones was involved, and there were 3 other people who, I think Dylan Robbins was there, probably his brother Dakota. I don't know. It's been 7 or 8 years. My memory's not what it used to be. But we were all hanging out on the front porch of the trading post. And it's, like, late. It's late enough that we probably need to be heading back to camp to go to bed. But we're all cutting up, just having fun. And I'm a director at that point in time, so I have a radio, which was a mixed blessing and curse. And out of, I think it was ROTC week as well. And goes out over the radio a call that some kid had tripped and fallen face first into a campfire at, I think it's Mountain Lion. That's the camp that's over next to Handicraft, right? Not Handicraft, Pioneering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain Lion or Buffalo.
Yeah, it's one of those two. And some kid has fallen face first into the campfire, and they're just asking for help immediately. And, we're not super far away, so we all simultaneously, without saying a word, take off running across the parade field to get to where this kid's in trouble. And I thought about it as I was running, and it just stuck with me ever since, of how cool it is to have that that non-verbal, like, we're all just know we're on the same page, and I trust the people running on either side of me that they are also on the same page as I am, and we're going to work together for this emergency. And that's a cool experience that I think everyone in the world should have, is have a moment where the people around them are in just unity of purpose, and you can trust each other to do their best. That's neat.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. The one thing I know about your friend group, or at least the people I know from your friend group, is you might be on the same page, but you're definitely reading different parts.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, that is cool to get to, like, just know that y'all are going to the same place. And yeah.
Was the kid okay?
Oh, yeah. The medic got there like 30 seconds after we did, because he had a car, so he was going a lot faster than we were. Like, I've been in this shape my whole life, so it was a shabby kind of run.
Yeah, but you still got there. That's what matters. You got there and you were willing.
I got there before the medic, just barely.
There you go.
Oh, so we kind of covered who you are. That's great.
Is it really?
Let's go into your scouting background. So, like, you said that you hadn't got your Eagle. What troop were you in? That kind of information. How long have you been involved?
All right, so I was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The LDS is how most of you guys know them. So I was in one of their troops my whole youth, like from age 12 on to 18. But I never took scouting super seriously as a kid, which is hilarious considering that my family are, like, well, they used to be pillars of the scouting community in Morristown. My mom was like the Cub Scout leader of the whole district kind of thing, responsible for day camp and all that stuff the entire time I was a kid. My dad was a scoutmaster in various troops the whole time I was alive. And my brother got his eagle, actually. Well, no, I mean, my dad's significantly older than most people's parents. He's a Vietnam era veteran. He's important to have that distinction. He didn't go to Vietnam. He was just in the service during that time. So he's old, real old. And, but yeah, so he's been in scouts forever. My older brother got his eagle. I just didn't care about it too much. I was real gung-ho until I turned like 16. And then I got a car and a girlfriend, and it just kind of, other things became more important. So then, a good friend of mine, Trey Sealock, invited me to, well, he was a member of the staff the 1 year that I went as a camper. And he was like, you should come back and be a staff member. I was like, yeah, I'll go hang out with Trey for a summer. And then he left and didn't come back as a staff member. But I did, and it was that's what got me here. And, I rediscovered how much I loved Scouts as an organization, as a concept. Yeah, and then it's been here ever since. I've been a Scoutmaster at a couple of different troops now. I ran a Cub Scout troop, much to my chagrin, for a couple of years while I was here in Johnson City. It's been a good time.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anybody who I think would be more Scout skill-esque than you. Because like I said, with those first directors that I remember, you and Bromback and Ben and all the y'all just in my mind when I think back to camp of just it being perfect. It was with y'all. Now we didn't get to see a lot of that behind the scenes because at that point we were campers, and so we didn't get to see the crappy moments.
Yeah, the behind the scenes is where you learn who people really are.
But that was the point at which when during camp stuff they're talking about you need to teach your class and stuff. That's the moment I think of when they were here because they actually did stuff. I felt like
yeah.
So yeah, well, cool. So
So what is your
favorite? Ask all the questions.
What is your favorite campsite and your favorite shelter at Camp Davy Crockett?
The favorite shelter is the easy one. It's Raccoon Shelter because I spent so much time at Raccoon Shelter. I would teach 3 classes a day, and in between those classes, if I didn't have anything else pressing to do, I had a hammock slung up in Raccoon Shelter. So I would lay in my hammock while other people came and taught their classes. Luke Newman, in particular, good buddy of mine. I still keep in touch with him, but he taught wilderness survival. So it was the class right before mine for environmental science. So I would just hang out and listen to him teach wilderness survival and make sarcastic comments from my hammock. And then I'd have to get up and teach. But so I spent most of my time at Raccoon. It's very secluded, very quiet. I liked it. As far as campsites go, I only spent 1 year as a camper, so I don't have much exposure to that. Gray squirrel is the obvious answer, but yeah, it feels like cheating. So if I had to pick, probably be bobcat or owl, who are way out there, and nobody goes to those by accident. They're so off the beaten path. Or again, raccoon's a really good one because it's the same thing. I like the seclusion. I like being out in the woods.
Yeah. You're the opposite of most people.
that's good. I like.
Well, you got to realize, I grew up on a house where I couldn't see my nearest neighbor because I was so far out in the woods. And that's the reason why you mentioned having scout skills. I didn't get most of that stuff from Boy Scouts because I was a crappy Boy Scout. I got that stuff from growing up in the middle of the woods and poor.
Yeah, you had to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree though. Having a secluded campsite out, because you hear all those camp noises and stuff. Camp has this ambiance, whatever, that just can get annoying sometimes.
Yeah, or the cars that go by, because as much as we try to keep cars off the camp road, there's just, if there's gonna be a place cars are going by, it's the road. So getting as far away from that as possible is good.
Mountain line also.
Yeah, best campsite ever. What cheers you up on a bad day?
Oh, man, that's a deep cut.
You don't have bad days, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't cheer up on bad days. Okay, as crappy as it sounds, and I can only say this because my wife's not going to watch this. Knowing that she'll be sad if I'm sad is enough to make me like just kind of like get a grip on it. Like, okay, you can't do this. You're going to bring other people down.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I thought you were saying just knowing that she's going to be sad makes
Yeah,
you feel
okay. A more charitable look would be like,
yeah.
you know, my wife cheers me up a lot. She's generally pretty happy, and also just like, guys, I'm the luckiest dude on earth. She rocks. Like, you know, she married way down. I love that. that's enough to bring a smile to my face.
That's sweet.
I tricked her.
Okay.
Any day now, she'll figure out that I'm a loser.
Well, on a different note, I guess. If you could be any animal for a day, what would you want to be?
Oh man, something that can fly. Something big that can fly.
Oh, like a dragon?
Like eagles or condors, like, you know, real stuff. But
Velociraptor.
yeah. Hey, those were real.
Dragons are
Are yeah. In a sense, you could. They came from real skeletons. The mythology came from real skeletons. But no, something that could fly. Something that was big enough that other things weren't going to mess with it. Because, you know, the downside of flying is that you're really out in the open and predators can see you. So something that doesn't have a ton of natural predators and can fly. Yeah.
nice.
I like flying.
Well thought out answer. Flying is cool.
I used to go up to West Virginia once a year with my dad because one of the guys from his squadron in the Marine Corps got out, struck it rich, and bought the Huey that he used to fly. They were selling them as to local municipalities to do like wildfire fighting. And he was like, I will do wildfire fighting to be able to buy my Huey. And then he just started having reunions where you could come and take trips flying around in this Huey in the mountains of West Virginia. And it's
that's like the coolest thing ever. Yeah. I mean, if you had the ability, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. What is your favorite candy or snack from the Trading Post?
So I admittedly didn't spend much money in the Trading Post. It always struck me as like a company town type thing where like, yeah, we pay you money, but also we're the only game in town, so we're going to get your money back. So as a spiteful jerk, I didn't spend much money. However, I will say that there was a very brief period of time where the Trading Post decided that staff members, as a perk, could have one free slushie a day if you bring your own container.
Oh.
Now, they didn't specify a limit on the container size. So, what was his name? I think his name was Tyler. He decided that because they didn't have a limit on container size, he got one of those igloo coolers that's like 5 gallons that they have at each of the stations, and he carried it into the store because he was going to fill his own bucket with slushie. And I was following him because I thought this was the funniest thing I'd seen all day. And he got around the curtain that separates the back window before Anthony, who was the manager at the time, saw what was happening and ran up and like slam dunked this thing out of his hands. And the very next 5 minutes from there was a sign printed out, taped on the counter, limit 64-ounce Nalgene bottle.
Yeah,
that's fair.
There's like a whole handout you get with the free slushie rules.
Yeah, that was Tyler's fault. Let me throw him under the bus. I definitely had nothing to do with that idea. Nope.
Now we know why Anthony's so strict on Trading Post stuff.
Yep.
Or in everything. That's actually the origin
Yeah,
story.
we ruined him. It's our fault.
Yeah, he was a normal person.
He was a rebel
He's great.
before.
He's one of my favorite people. He's one of those handful of guys that, you just build lifelong friendships at camp. I'd not seen Anthony in 2 or 3 years, and then y'all saw as I walked in, I was like, hey, Anthony's here. Catch up with him. It's great.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Is he?
Well,
No, I'm joking.
So, did you bring us a word of the day?
Sure. The word of the day is anachronism.
Ooh.
Anachronism. You should not
Wow.
check that.
You win spelling bee.
Maybe. We'll assume that I'm correct. An anachronism is something that is out of place in its timeline. It does not belong where it is contemporaneously. So, like if you walk into a place and you see a phone booth right now, that's an anachronism.
Or if you're in like a medieval movie and you're wearing a wristwatch.
Exactly. Yes. Perfect example.
I don't know. I just like the assume I'm correct. That sounds very lawyer-esque.
Oh man, now we know what they teach you in law school.
That's exactly right.
What about a joke?
Yeah, sure. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
R?
No.
You'd think so,
Yeah.
but a pirate's first love is the sea.
That's hilarious. Is the next question? I don't know. Wait, you didn't. I asked
What?
you. It's your turn.
Yeah, you have. Well, you've already told us a good few camp stories, but do you have any more?
The question that I try to, the balance I try to run in my life is I don't want to be one of those dudes who is 30 and still wearing like a varsity sports jacket from high school. There's this kind of person who just peaked really early on and just like live in that space for the rest of their life. And if I had a time that is really tempting to do that, it'd be my time at camp because I loved it. It was great. I grew a lot.
Cover up your staff shirt over there.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still have all my staff shirts and wear them, but they're great work shirts. But I also have, like you said, all these great stories and times from camp. One that sticks out, John Walker was the sailing instructor. And he's another one of those really great dudes. There are very few people in my memories from camp that I'm like, oh yeah, that dude's garbage. They exist, but there's not many of them. John Walker was a good dude. And I stayed at the end of camp. We do that like half a week, the Tweedle week. And then if you are special or willing, they'll let you stay the rest of the week to just help clean up camp for the end of the summer. And I did that. And one of the things we had to do was move the sailboats, those like 14-foot sunfish sailboats, back to the shop. And we didn't have a trailer or a pickup truck. And we did not want to walk those things down there.
That's bad enough with a trailer.
So I had this 90-something Volvo sedan. And we put the sunfish upside down on top of the Volvo. And we didn't have any straps. So each of us reached an arm out our side and held it on while we drove back and forth hauling these sunfish back to the shop.
So that's why we got a trailer.
Probably, yeah.
We're learning where all this stuff comes from.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. And then, of course, I think, is there anything else that really can be shared, should be shared? No, there's too many to really think of. I just had a lot of good times at that camp.
Yeah.
Made a lot of good friends. Oh, there was also with JD.
Dude, those should be good.
We all know JD.
Yeah, JD rocks. There was a year that we had a really, really bad storm. And it's like pouring rain. Like, it's raining enough that I was wearing boots that were waterproof, but they weren't lace up, or at least they didn't lace up tight. So it rained so much that the water got in my boots, and they were waterproof so that it doesn't come out of my boots. So like every step was splashing water out the tops of my boots. And as staff members of radios, you got to go around the camps when the code red is called and make sure that everyone's safe. And by safe, I mean heading towards the dining hall because it's the only concrete building on the camp. So I had gone to a couple of them, and then he sees me walking, and he's driving because he's smart and has permission to because Mike Wolf was with him. And so they're driving from campsite to campsite. He sees me walking down the camp road, and he comes screeching to a halt and says, "Get in!" And then we drive around the rest of the campsites we need to check. And that moment is burned into my brain forever because it had the perfect soundtrack for what I was experiencing.
JD, we have used that excuse that Mike Wolf is on Shooting Sports continually. Mike Wolf is not on Shooting Sports anymore, and we still use that excuse.
Too bad.
Yeah, because Mike is our camp registrar.
Oh.
And so, but we still use that excuse that way we can drive around.
Well, you ought to just have Mike come out and drive around with you. Hey, he's a good time.
Do you have any Mike stories that are funny?
Mike stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will embarrass him.
I don't know if they're embarrassing, but they are funny. He used to have a police scanner, or at least something that could pick up the frequencies that police scanners use, because it's good chatter to just have as like basically white noise to help you go to sleep. And you should try listening to a police scanner. It's if you're not actually attached to any of the stories that are going on, it's great. Now, if they're talking about you, it's a whole nother problem. But so we hear, I was in the tent, like 2 tents down from their Tajma tent that they had made, that huge monstrosity. And I heard someone exclaim. And so I decided I'd go check out what was going on. And it turns out that they had heard a police chase going on. And they were handing off from Hawkins County to Hamlin County because the guy was crossing county lines. And they said, "All right, Hamlin, he's yours. He's going 90 miles an hour on Ninny Ridge Road."
Oh, gosh.
And then the Hamlin County goes, "On Ninny Ridge? Not for long, he's not."
Yeah, that is not a road that you want to be doing anywhere near that speed on.
I'd be scared to go 30 on that road.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so while we're on the subject of stories, what is a memory from your first time at camp? Can you remember back that far?
Oh, man, it's been a long time. From my first time at camp, when I was like a camper?
Sure, whatever your first experience that you can remember at camp was.
I was 17 and stupid, and those two things go together more often than not, let's be real. And we got into a competition. I say me and my fellow scouts, because I was a scout at the time, got into a competition about who could drink more cartons of chocolate milk.
Mm.
And I drank 17 of them.
Oh my gosh.
The rules of the bet were you could not throw up until midnight or else you don't win. The next highest number wins. And I did not throw up until midnight. But on the stroke of midnight, I stood up like the Manchurian Candidate. And it was bad.
Oh, dear. Yeah, not recommended.
Yeah, don't recommend. 0 out of 10. Unsubscribe.
Don't unsubscribe from Camp David.
Yeah, just a chocolate milk.
Well, since this is our Thanksgiving episode, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. What are you thankful for?
Oh, that's a really long list.
I mean, you can just say one thing. Like you don't have to say. You don't have to say everything.
No, I know. It's just like what most deserves to be said. I've talked about my wife already. She's just the best. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for Fred Johnson. That's who I'm thankful for. Fred's not with us anymore, and the world's worse off for it. He was the camp director the entire time I was on staff. And I had not yet started dating my wife, but we were really good friends, and she was going to work at camp with us. So I came up here to Johnson City to get an application for her, and he was in the council office, and he saw me, and we interacted, and I told him I was getting an application for a friend of mine who was a female, because it's always kind of touchy with staff, anyway. And he looked at me, and he said, "John, is this your woman?" And I said, "No, sir, not yet." And he was very, if anyone could embarrass me on this earth, it's Fred Johnson, because he knew me better than anyone but my parents. And he chose not to. And instead, he was very kind and understanding and didn't push me and my wife, Camry is her name. So yeah, me and Camry, he didn't push us. He didn't let us do anything stupid that we would have regretted later. He applied the rules to us the same as everybody. And that approach to the world that he had of just wanting to take care of people and make sure that everything was right, and not really at anybody's expense, shaped who I am as much as anything else in my life has. Fred was a good man, and I'm grateful that I got to know him.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, no, I would have cried.
That's.
I think about Fred a lot. I try to model my behavior at least a little bit after him. So he's a good dude.
I think anybody that's met him, even if they've talked for like just a few minutes, will understand.
Actually, that brings me to another camp story about Fred. One of my favorite Fred Johnson stories is that he had uniforms of like different levels of decoration. You heard this one? Yeah.
Well, I've not heard your story, but I've heard
So he has 7 different uniforms, and the first one is like the bare minimum patches necessary to be a scout uniform, and then all the way up to the 7th one, which looks like, as he used to say, a Mexican general. And what he would do is the first day of the week, he'd wear the plain one. And so you'd have these super scouters come in who are like decked out with all their... I dropped my phone, it's fine. But they're decked out with all of these medals and ribbons, and they look great, and they're talking down to him like he doesn't know anything about scouts. And he just smiles, and he takes it, because the dude was just the master of the customer service face. Like, you're not getting past this. I'm friendly and smiling, and then as the days went on, these people who were jerks to him because he'd had no experience would realize that he blew them all out of the water. And the humble pie they would have to eat, that was beautiful. Because it really teaches you the lesson of like, scouting is for everybody. Everybody starts somewhere, and you can't look down on someone because they're earlier on their journey than you are. And that was Fred to a T, man. He didn't look down on anybody.
No. So, trying to transition from our heartfelt memories.
I know, right?
What is a question that you could ask for our next guest? And we don't know yet who our next guest is, so we can't tell you.
Because that would really depend on the guest.
Yeah.
Well, while you think about it, actually, I still have to ask you the question from our previous guest. Which we forgot to get it during the episode, but afterwards I texted her like, "Oh yeah, we need a question for the next guest." So from Jennifer, our membership coordinator, yeah. Her question was, "What is your favorite color?"
Favorite color? Probably like a navy blue. I'd have to go with something like
real tree camouflage.
That's colors plural. I got to pick the one. I like muted colors, like a dark navy with a gray undertone.
That's actually why I wore the shirt today, because I knew.
Yeah, it read my mind. As far as next questions go, ask them what their favorite junk food is. Like, not just from the camp store, but like their favorite junk food, period. Like, yeah. I don't have an answer for that one either, but I like all junk food, as you can see.
Okay, that's fair enough, I guess. Speaking of food, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
I cook for Thanksgiving. I cook a lot. It's just a hobby of mine. I enjoy cooking. And I make this sweet potato casserole that is just to die for. It's basically candy. It's got like tons of brown sugar and regular sugar and butter. Like, it's dessert. Let's be real, but it's just delicious.
Is it selfish to say that you're
not to pat yourself on the back?
Yeah.
Hey, I will put my cooking skills against 90% of the human population.
Wow.
I'm pretty good.
I've never had your cooking, but maybe you could change that. Because it sounds good. But I would agree with that. It's probably good.
Yeah, our next guest is actually John again. He's going to bring us some sweet potato.
Going to change the whole nature of the show. It's now a cooking show.
You could do a really good cooking show. That would be great.
So fun.
I could imagine you cooking like off the whip. That would be good.
I know you just passed the bar and all, but like change your entire career.
Yeah, hard pivot, dude. Trust me, I've thought about it. Yeah, that was the worst part. Right before I got the news that I'd passed, so I'd taken the exam and I was convinced I'd failed. But even if I passed, people were like, "So what do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't even want to be a lawyer anymore."
You could be a culinary lawyer. That'd be funny. I don't know if that's a thing. But
Probably.
You specialize in food poisoning, personal injury.
We know there's space lawyers. We did confirm that.
Yeah.
Dude, there's every type of lawyer imaginable. It gets real niche real fast.
So, to wrap up, I think, happy Thanksgiving, like Zeph said. We've not mentioned, I forgot that this was even the Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're still in early November recording. So,
do you have any advice for people who are listening that might be going to camp, or just life advice or anything?
Just any wise words.
Yeah, wise words of wisdom.
Feel on your heart to share with the world.
You guys know what triage is?
Like where you pick what the most important thing is to deal with first.
So in a medical sense is where triage originally came from. And the idea was, like you said, you're evaluating all the problems that are out there and you're choosing the ones that need to be worked on first. And there's a bunch of criteria that go into doing a triage operation. And I think the one that gets most overlooked is the idea that if you are doing triage, one of the more important things you can do is convey calm. Because imagine that you are on a stretcher and you're in an ER room full of people and you see other people being treated first. But you are injured, you're on the stretcher, you could easily think you're either getting overlooked or ignored, or it's so bad that in their triage, they decided, yeah, you're done. Sorry, we can save these people, so we will. If left to your own, it's very easy to panic. So one of the things that you as a triage nurse or a triage, a person doing triage, however you say that, is you have to convey calm so that when you come talk to someone, you don't exacerbate their panic. And now, that's an important lesson to learn when you're doing triage in a medical sense. But triage is not just done in a medical sense. We're doing that every day, all the time. In your daily life, there are problems, and you're deciding what needs to be worked on first and what can wait. And a lot of those problems involve other people. So the number one thing you can do, audience, in your daily life is convey calm. If everyone around you knows that you're doing your best and that they're going to be okay, even if they're not, they don't panic. And keeping panic down is just the most important thing you can do for people these days.
It's good life. I think that's the most in-depth life advice we've ever had. Everybody else just like, and then they've said some quote. I like it.
Well, I don't want to get political because I don't think you should. But I know that a lot of people have been worried for 10 years about the way the country's going for a billion different reasons. And the one thing we can all share in common is that we just need to calm down.
Just stay calm.
That's like a full Scoutmaster minute.
Yeah, Scoutmaster 18 hours. No, I'm just,
hey, don't you get me started. I can keep going. You know as well as anybody, I can talk for 18 hours. It's gotten worse since I went to law school. Not better.
Oh, dear. We should record a full environmental science class with you.
That's true.
The sad thing is I probably remember all the jokes because I used the same jokes with every class every year. It was Yeah, it's great.
If they're funny and they make people laugh, then keep using it.
That was the trick. It worked.
I actually took it twice, kind of, with him, because I took it as a scout, and then my first year on staff, I didn't have a class during that time, so I went to his class because I wanted to see it again.
Did you use? Oh wait, because you taught him Bible science, right?
I did.
Did you use any of his jokes?
Maybe a couple that I remembered. Yeah.
It warms my heart. That does.
I did mention animals getting cancer and dying a couple of times.
Nice. It's the most important takeaway.
Yeah, forget all the rest of it. Oh, okay.
Well, I'd say that it's been a great day to be a scout at Camp Davy Fun.
Bye.
Camp Davy Chronicles. It's a podcast about